can hear them.
Oh. What'd you say, Jim?
They're ready.
Oh, okay.
They just,
I just want, are they able to, are they having an issue communicating into the boardroom? Do you,
yes.
Peter, are you having an issue communicating into the
Yes.
boardroom?
I told Jim yes.
It's very faint. I know, but we need to be able to hear.
He has to give you a second. Give them a second. Somebody gets a second.
Okay.
I don't know if he's testing it or
I can't. How do you want me to do this?
Unbelievable.
whatever you want.
Oh, okay.
All right, ready to go.
Whoa.
Wow, there it is.
Very good. All right.
John's here.
Just here.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Supervisor Moore,
Present.
Councilwoman McNamara. Present. Councilman Iacili.
Present.
Councilman Pell.
Present.
Councilman Martell.
Present.
Thank you. I move to accept the minutes from the Hampton Bays Water District Commissioners meeting of May 8th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I move to accept the minutes of the regular town board meeting of May 13th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you please read the communications?
We have received the following communications in the office of the town clerk. We have received public notices from the town of Southold, Village of Southampton, New York State Liquor Authority 30-day advance notice to local municipalities for the listed entity, annual statement of financial disclosures from the listed individuals. Emails, letters, and land use applications have been received regarding the following. Butter Lane Farms application for inclusion to Agricultural District Number 5. Jewel Community Powers Retreat from CCA programs in New York State. Peacocks Bay WQIP grant. Planning Board matter of the North Sea Cell Tower. Shinnecock Nation Strawberry Thanksgiving Ceremony. West Hampton Community Center engagement opportunities. Zoning Board of Appeals application for 60 Noyak Harbor Road, Noyak. The following bid and request for proposal was received on Wednesday, May 21st. A bid for number 30 Club Lane Maintenance Garage. And that concludes the communications for this meeting's agenda.
Thank you. All right, there are 5 walk-ons that I would like to add to the agenda. The first is a notice of public hearing to consider local law to rezone certain parcels from highway business to village business and hamlet commercial located on the north and south sides of Montauk Highway between Ponquag Avenue and the intersection south of Old Riverhead Road in the hamlet of Hampton Bays as per the Hampton Bays Corridor Strategic Plan and associated generic environmental impact statement. The second is the warrant, number 10. The third walk-on is to appoint Tevin Smith to sanitation helper and waste management. The fourth, didn't read the numbers, is a resolution rendering determination of a grievance, and the fifth walk-on is to accept the resignation of a police officer. I move to add these to the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice of the first public hearing?
Are we reading all of them?
All right, let's read 1 through 8 public hearings as they all relate to the battery energy storage code sections.
Thank you. Public hearing number 1 to repeal Southampton Town Code, Section 330-162.21, entitled Battery Energy Storage Systems in excess of 600 kilowatts. Public hearing number 2, amending Town Code, Chapter 330-33, as it relates to business district uses. Public hearing number 3, amending Town Code, Chapter 330-37, entitled Industrial Districts Table of Use Regulations as it relates to battery energy storage systems. Public hearing number 4, amending Southampton Town Code, Chapter 330, entitled Zoning by adding new Article 33, entitled Battery Energy Storage Systems. Public hearing number 5, to amend Southampton Town Code, Chapter 123, entitled Building Construction, subsection 123-39.3, entitled Battery Energy Storage Systems. Public hearing number 6, amending Southampton Town Code, Chapter 330, entitled Zoning, subsection 330-76, entitled Placement of Accessory Buildings, Structures, and Uses in All Districts. Public hearing number 7, amending Town Code, Chapter 157, entitled Type 1 Actions, to add new subsection 8 as it relates to battery energy storage systems with a capacity of 600 kilowatts up to a maximum of 5 megawatts as Type 1 actions for purposes of SECRA. Public hearing number 8, amending Town Code, Chapter 330, Section 330-10, as it relates to residential use tables.
Thank you. Yes.
Good evening, Madam Supervisor, members of the board. My name is Janice Scherer, Town Planning and Development Administrator, and I'm here to just hear the responses. We talked extensively at work session about all these changes. I don't know if you want me to give a brief overview. I think the most important thing to note is that the board has significantly reduced the threshold. It used to be that the code was 600 kilowatt hours or greater with no cap. Now you've capped that at 5 megawatt as a special exception use. And said the other big thing to note is that it's not allowed in any residential zoning district. So we've broken it into 2 tiers. And the system is tier 1 is your basic small batteries that a residential property owner could do right now, today, and those are regulated by the state building code. Then you have from 80 kilowatt hours to 600 kilowatt hours as an adjunct to a business. So those would be permissible. I know there's some concern that we put non-residential zones. We can be more granular about putting specific business zones. But the point of that is if you have a supermarket and you didn't want to use a generator and you wanted to have a battery backup, you could do that in shopping center business. If you had some kind of business that lended itself to having such a use, you would want battery backup, you can do that, but it's only for your own use. So you'd have to prove out how much energy you use, and then there's a calculation in the code that says that's all you're allowed to store. So you're using your own, you're not, doing any kind of other grid storage type of thing.
Oh, okay.
So that's in the business districts. That's what it's intended to
So
be.
under 600 is only for basically business use for your own consumption,
Exactly.
not to be hooked up to any kind of renewable energy source, not to use as a peaker plant or to sell energy back to the grid. It's
No.
strictly for your own use, for your own
Right.
site.
Up to 600 kilowatt
Up to
hours.
600.
Up to and including.
Up to and including. And
But Janice, should probably be clarified. I don't know if the language is clear on that.
I did submit a memo to you saying that we would like to make that we have a couple of minor changes that we submitted to the record, and those were just saying up to inclusive of 600 kilowatt
Oh, but
hours.
I mean about the, what you said previously about that it had to be for your own consumption.
Oh, sure.
And a business.
And we can make that more clear, but that is the intent.
I have a question on this,
Sure.
okay? You put it in a supermarket, okay, 600 kilowatts, that's what they're using, and you have apartments above that. So how is that gonna work? Because that's like residential.
You wouldn't probably, first of all, you don't even have it that you could do such a thing. So shopping center business doesn't even allow that yet. Like if you were to do that, you can't actually, it's not a mixed use, scenario. So technically
But
that wouldn't
apartments in
happen.
the same complex, like King Cullen and Hampton Bays.
Well, there are apartments up there because that was a PDD.
That's what I'm worried about.
You have to
Yeah,
be
people
property,
sleeping
I don't
there.
think that would work because we have that property line to property line. Remember that 300-foot setback, so. that would be a little difficult for them.
Janice,
So they would not be, most
I'm
likely.
not sure they'd be eligible.
Okay, and if it's, if the complex is next to a residential area?
Has to be 300 feet distance property line from, as measured from the property line.
Janice, I do have a question, and I just want to get some context just to base my question on that context. Specifically, I'm first and foremost, I'm very appreciative of your work and Seth's work on this. Christine, thank you, and the committee. I know a lot of work went into this, as well as the support that the sustainability committee of the town also has for this. So this is excellent work.
Thank you.
What's wrong?
I forgot about the certificate.
I have it. So my question to you is, can you just briefly just explain the power ratios between Tier 1 and Tier 2?
Sure. Tier 1, so you have a, like I just mentioned, the basic residential battery could go up to 80 kilowatt hours, outside of your home. So
What's
those
the
are
minimum
allowed.
to the maximum?
20. Well,
So
you'd say
underneath
zero, but like hold on a second. Well, if you want to hear him stuff, but I could basically answer it.
Can I just ask? So the max is 600 kilowatt hours, right?
In a residential zone, the max is 80.
Okay.
That's just
So
not
in
even a tier.
non-residential zone,
In a non-residential zone, it starts from 80
right?
and it goes to 600.
Now,
And
what
when
is
we say non-residential, we mean business districts. We mean highway business,
right?
shopping center business.
I understand that.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
So now for Tier 2, can you explain what the power ratio is there?
Sure, that's 601, let's say, kilowatt hours to 5 megawatt hours.
Okay.
Megawatt.
Now, Tier 2 does have a square footage requirement of 300 feet from line to line, correct?
Tier 2 is only allowed in light industrial districts.
Mhm.
And if you were, let's say, at the edge of a light industrial district and there was a residential parcel adjacent, that one parcel would not be eligible because it's sharing a property line with a residential district, so you can't do that.
And what is the code? The code does.
Code requires 300 feet between.
Okay.
Between
So
the two
now,
property lines.
right. So now, with going back to Tier 1, what is that square footage requirement? That's not 300 feet, right? That's 50 feet.
In Tier 1, the
Non-residential?
one that is non-residential, those are treated in the zoning districts themselves. Like highway business is a 1 acre zone and they have an accessory setback. It follows like accessory structure setbacks.
So hypothetically, then, could you have in a non-residential zone 600 kilowatt system 50 feet away from residential?
There's no 50 feet, I don't think, anymore.
There's a 50 foot requirement.
300
within
feet
Tier 1.
is Tier 2, but not Tier 1.
Tier 1 is 50 feet, correct?
I don't see that.
Well, it follows the transition yard, which is 50. That's where you're getting 50 feet from, I'm assuming, the transition yard.
But when you say it's in business districts, it doesn't actually say that. So maybe that's the
It
modification.
says non-residential.
Yeah, but that could be anything other than residential.
Right, which we're
Not
happy to
necessarily
change
a
it to
business
say whatever you want. We just use the normal way we speak when we say no, so it didn't occur that we would spell it out, but we can easily do that.
Okay.
Is that something that would have to get renoticed?
No, because you're talking about it now on the record. So in other words, Tier 1, B2 says permissible in non-residential. You're saying you would like me to change that to say permissible in and call out the districts, village business, highway business,
I think
shopping
that
center
would be
business.
better.
That's fine.
And I'm just also concerned about the requirements, the buffer requirements, because you could have a non-residential and residential near one another, and that could potentially set something up where you do have BESS that's close by a resident, where you don't have that 300-foot requirement in Tier 2. And I get it, the power is much higher in Tier 2.
Right, it's
But-
much less. It's only
But 600
6.
kilowatt hours, you're still getting up there.
So are you asking us to put in a new standard of setback?
Well, we have to be careful about that because if it's like with the a supermarket and if there's
With
apartments
parking
there,
and-
I don't think you want to prohibit the supermarket from having battery storage for their own purposes.
You're not talking large systems.
Yeah.
You're talking like a generator size.
Yeah, they're very small. But
80
you,
in homes.
The normal, like, let's say, just for example, you have highway business and it's adjacent to a residential parcel. Nothing could go on 50 feet of anything adjacent to the residential, just normally. We call that a transition yard, meaning that you can't, whenever you find those two things abutting, and the burden is on the commercial property owner to stay back 50 feet away from a residence, even with an accessory structure. So we just assume the transition yard because it would be like a little, you'd be 50 feet. But if you want us to change that, we can.
I think safety would be accomplished just by putting the business districts in rather than just saying non-residential.
Sure. Now the question becomes, do you want all of them? Since we said non-residential, that captured all of the ones that we have, not PDDs. I'm not talking about PDDs at
But
all.
you're suggesting really it's going to be the businesses that use it. business
Yeah, so
district.
I don't know if you want to include like resort waterfront business. That's on the water. I don't know if you want that.
I don't think so, because you have salt water, and if this stuff ever gets hurricane or flooded over.
You have resorts on the water, but I don't know if you want to eliminate that one. And then the only other one I would ask about is HO or HC. Those are more like smaller residential style. So you could just say village business, highway business, shopping center business, and motel, and leave out RWB and HOHC, or you could think about that. We've mapped it, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
You could see some down on the water there. I would say there is a coastal resilience part of this where the lights go out on the coast more than they do inland, but it could be.
It's
I mean, these can be rooftop units. They're not necessarily on the ground either.
No, if they're on the ground in a flood zone, they have to be elevated in some way. 2 feet above base flood elevation. But just bringing it up, if we're specific to the districts now, if you want to get really granular, I would just like to know if you want to keep it in RWB and HOHC. Those would be my only, we can think about that.
What if we just said business districts, that would,
That would include those. So if you want me to write them all, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
or we can just say business districts and just capture those.
It captures all of them if you say business districts, that's all of them. Or if I start going by each, then I would want to ensure that each one of these is what you want.
But
And
that
I think the
includes, that,
businesses should have the opportunity to support themselves with battery storage.
that includes the stuff for the businesses on the water.
Yeah, I mean, you might have a marina that needs a
Yeah, on the
battery,
water.
like
You might-
backup.
Yeah, on Dune Road, if you have a building, one on Dune Road.
There's restaurants, there's
gets
other
lost
things.
out, then you're in a lot of trouble there.
So keep it in. So just say business districts. Okay. And that does not include any PDDs. PDD is not a
I don't
business
think
district.
that's good for the environment.
Actually, it would. Commercial industrial PDD is the only one that we have that's a business district. Like Stop and Shop in Hampton Bays, that's actually zoned commercial industrial PDD. I can write that in there. It's the only one we have.
Yeah, but I would not go for anything on, along the water, because if you have a fire, how are you gonna put it out? And if it gets wet, if you use foam and anything that go right into the environment, into the bay, which I would not.
So you want to eliminate RWB.
So you're saying
Having
like,
battery
if there's a
storage.
hotel down by the
Yeah.
water or restaurants, they
Yeah.
can't have it.
Have it generated, it's lost.
I mean, that's my concern. Non-residential zoning districts that are in non-residential zoning and near environmentally
Yeah,
sensitive areas.
just like if you put something next to the green belt, the pine barrier with a forest or something. We just had a huge forest fire, and if that goes up, and then we might have another 600 acres go on fire.
I mean,
And the specifics that are laid out in tier 2 are very.
those are only in industrial districts only. There are no tier 2 systems anywhere other than in an industrial district. Off the coastal evacuation route, not on Montauk Highway. They're only in LI 40. And they're all a type 1 action. So even if you said it's allowed in highway business, let's say, permissible potentially, and the secret review, or something, it's not appropriately adequately cited, it could still be denied. No one's guaranteed an approval just because you said it could be considered there. I know the public is eager to speak. I don't know if you have any other questions or you want me to go
Why
in
don't
further.
you let us take a seat and we'll listen to
Okay,
the
we're here.
community.
Seth's here. He's got many answers for
Oh,
you
good.
if you need anything. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Janice.
All right, the first card is Amy Paradise. Amy, there you are.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Bill Pell actually hit right on what bothers me, which is when I look at the map and got this stuff right up against the water, because these are major flood zones. And I don't care how you build it, we're gonna have hurricanes, we're gonna have floods. If you got it up on the second floor and the building washes out, you've still ended up with that stuff right in the water. They shouldn't be there. It's just, you're adding to you closed Concord Bridge how many times now because the road was flooded? So they should not be next to the water, and you've got 2 huge districts. They should be up in the middle. I'm not opposed to them. You guys have worked on this forever. We've all got to stop fighting progress and get going with it. So that was just the only thing that worries me, is you shouldn't have it next to the bay, the ocean. I know there are businesses there. People don't like me. I think it's time we let those businesses go. They cost us too much money. But battery energy storage, you guys have worked on this really hard. Is it going to be like the little buildings they have in East Hampton where they're totally enclosed? They
Not
had
in
one.
buildings now, they're just.
Yeah, they're in
structures.
separate structures, but they're entirely enclosed and
Yes.
they take care of themselves. So good job, but don't put them next to the water.
Thank you, Amy.
I just want to point out, because I think there's a disconnect here on the 600 kilowatts and under. Like a 600 kilowatt hour BESS is the size of like a Cybertruck or a Tesla. It's not an industrial, it's not these storage containers. It's a standalone. You can rent one from a rental company, and it's like a tow behind trailer, small. Like it's not. I think that's what's like those are. The industrial BESS facilities, we're not allowing anywhere near the water. These are strictly as a like a generator for a business. And I mean, if there's 4 Teslas in the parking lot and it floods, you've got 4 Teslas in the parking lot and it's flooded. So I just want to bring that up, that we're not allowing, because I think now there's some miscommunication or misunderstanding that we're not allowing any industrial scale BESS anywhere near the water.
Sorry, but you're still putting these things. I know there's going to be cars and it's going to end up in the water, but I don't think we should be setting it up to happen. And you are setting it up to happen.
Point taken.
Absolutely, because those things are toxic, highly toxic.
Seth, I thought I read something though for the wind, and perhaps you know, maybe you don't, but for the wind generated energy, isn't there something where there's storage right at the, under the water, actually? Did you read anything like that?
That is news to me, Seth Ray's planner. I do know, I could tell you that the East Hampton has a 5 megawatt battery that is associated with the wind farm offshore. There are new and innovative forms of energy storage that are constantly being developed. I understand they're going towards organic batteries. So there are many different battery chemistries and perhaps many different locations as well.
Mm-hmm.
I can't speak to underwater battery energy storage, but I can certainly look into it.
Well, I just thought perhaps you read it also. But,
No, I can tell you, again, there's iron and air. There are different types of batteries that don't, they're trying to take away the reliance on the lithium ion as the stalwart of the workhorse of these batteries, because they do know that is the one volatile chemical or metal that is creating a lot of these problems. So there's a great deal of R&D going on to branch away from that. And there are other sites throughout the nation that are trying out innovative new battery energy storage.
Yeah, things are going to be changing, so,
They are, they are.
well, thank you. Gail Lombardi?
So I am appreciative of all the hard work, especially Supervisor Moore and Cindy McNamara has done on this and, you know, bringing it down to a manageable. But I am a little concerned that there's still like discussion on the tier one. If I understood it correctly, I didn't go into detail because I know a lot of people have looked at it in more detail. If you're adding this to a type 1 seeker review, does that include the tier 1 is a question? So that every site review would be required to do, you couldn't do a seeker review and say there's no environmental impact. They're going to have to do an EIS for every seeker, including the tier 1s, and that would cover some of the concerns. But is that the case? Or is it only tier 2? Is it type 1? I don't know. That might cover, I don't know the answer to that. I didn't look at it. I don't have it in front of me. But it seems that the tier 1, as Mr. Pell had indicated, Councilperson Pell, it's closer to the property line. I understand they're smaller, but, it is pretty close to a property line. It's pretty close to, Village Business has residential units, so do, Hamlet, I think Center, some of the others have apartments upstairs, so you are close to residential, even though they're smaller. Again, it might be, that concern might be able to be covered if it's part of a type 1, but I know you guys have come a long way on this, and some of us are hoping that we're kind of wrapping it up. I know the moratorium ends at the end of the month, right? So, but that doesn't mean if you find, a blaring red flag, you should kind of not take care of it, but we're hoping that we could get through that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Gail. Bridget,
We'll answer them all at the
Mayor?
end.
Bridget?
Hello. I'm glad you bundled all these public hearings into one, and so I'm happy about that. I'm not so happy that we're still tinkering and wordsmithing. This is, we need to, the fat lady needs to sing now, and that's why some of us are here. We want closure. A couple of years we've been involved in this. You've done a fabulous job, the steering committee. I'm going to echo what Gail just said. Maria, Cindy, thank you. And thank you to the board members, but a lot of stuff has been, and Janet and Seth, of course. Thank you all. So I don't want to belabor the point, but there's two things I'm going to just point out. The Southampton Press just announced a podcast, and the way they're describing it is Southampton Town's latest and hopefully last draft of new best codes. So let's not disappoint the Southampton Press, huh? Lastly, we have the resolutions are tucked into the bottom of this. We have 40 through 48, is it? And I just don't understand why the public hearings are, we got them right on top, and we really got these resolutions nestled back in the bottom. I don't know if we can bring them up to get some of us out of this room, but I also want to understand if this tinkering and wordsmithing is going to keep us from getting to the resolutions, and it sounds like that's a possibility, and I don't know when this can end. We got to put a period on this at some point. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The wordsmithing is not going to keep us from there, but we are going to have to table it for 2 weeks because we are still waiting on the Suffolk County Planning Commission.
Okay.
They're meeting June
Oh, it
4th,
is.
so.
John Lynch.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor, members of the board. I'm a lawyer, so I love tinkering and wordsmithing, and I think when you look at legislation, you have to look at the words. And I'm happy to hear some of the questions and some of the discussion had about some of the language that was in the statute, because I think there was some things that were problematic, and I think we're on the right track of trying to cure those. Particularly what that section that was on page 65 about the non-residential, I think you have to get a little granular on that and put down, like you said, business districts, so it can't go into some other area that we're not aware of. I particularly happen to be aware of one because I have particular interest. I'm concerned, like everybody else is, about fires. And I live right near 172 South Country Road in Queog. And in our past meetings, when we appeared and you gave me the opportunity to speak, there was questions about whether or not that location, which right now is being leased by the village to have a solar facility built, it also in that lease would allow for a BESS to be installed. And from the statute, I understand now it can't be an industrial size BESS, which is the ones that we'll have concerns about. But also, the thing with a tier 1 and a tier 2, tier 1 is not as benign as you might want to make it sound as far as it, because fire is always the danger. And when I did some research, on a tier 1 system, which could be 81 kilowatts to 600 kilowatts, a BESS this size can power 20 homes for one day or one home for 20 days. It can provide backup power to an office building depending on the discharge use from a few hours to one day. So, it can it can also fast charge 6 Teslas. Well, that's good. There's a lot of power that's in there, and the danger is fire on it. And so we allow it to make sure in that granular that it can't be near residences where people are in danger. Because I think that, and I know I'm not telling you anything, but that is your job as the board, to do no harm, to allow something that could become dangerous, on that. Even the intents of the statute talk about fire. And it talks about the fire, as far as, and some of the precautions with the tier 2. But when we look at the tier 1, which is on page 65, and looking at the statute, it doesn't put in there as far as any kind of avoidance areas that they have in tier 2. And I think that you have to take a look at that for tier 1 to put some avoidance areas, so it can't be in the woods. Yes, am I concerned about the woods behind me as far as that property? Yes. It's zoned, it's not zoned, it would have fit in because it's zoned non-residential. It's not zoned business, it's zoned, something I haven't seen before, but it's an old zone, a recreation tourism on that. Without that language being changed, that would allow that type of BESS to be built there. And we could just see the fires we just had not long ago. Luckily we had great firemen who put that out, and we got some luck that the wind didn't go in a certain way that it could have caused that fire and it caused an explosion, with these things. There is a danger, which is why you had a moratorium and why a lot of other towns are not allowing these to be built, particularly on Long Island, onto it. So yes, progress moves forward, but we have to be careful, when we do it, and we can't have any mistakes made. So I think in the caution of safety, you have to have it in statute. We have to do a little wordsmith, and we have to disappoint the press if they want this done. And I think this is a big, thick statute, on that. And I'm an attorney, and not the greatest attorney, but I had a lot of trouble going through some of this and putting it all together. Jim might be able to do it, but
30 seconds.
Okay, but I hate to feel the hook, the music coming, so I'm being told to leave. But I think some of those changes have to be made, and maybe put avoidance areas into that to make sure that this thing is safe. I do have one question, if I could just jump for that 30 seconds. And there was a question I had, I didn't understand completely, about on page 66 of the statute about accessory, about being accessory. Like if you can speak to that, I'd appreciate it so we can understand what that means. Because I'm not quite understanding what that is. If that makes any kind of change, if it's an accessory, particularly said to a solar facility, which is what I'm concerned. But it shouldn't be allowed anywhere near woods, and I think that's noted in the statute, about certain areas, especially with the pine beetles, which is in that property, those things will go up fast. There'll be a fire and they'll be evacuated very quickly. And I think, but for the grace of God, that didn't happen before. Let's not let it happen here. Thank you.
Thank you. Seth or Janice?
I think they're just going to answer them.
To the
That is actually on my page 29, and it's 330, 427 under general requirements.
427C.
330, 427C, principal or accessory. I think,
66 of the agenda of today's.
I'm sorry, yeah, I have a different version from the work session. So it says that principal or accessory use, BESS facilities may be considered either principal or accessory uses and based on the following. And that's what I was talking about earlier, of storing their own battery energy storage system with an aggregate capacity from 80 up to 5, tier 1 and 2, is considered accessory Now, this is general requirements. This is in an industrial district. Meaning, we have a section in our code called maximum number of uses, and we have like primary uses and accessory uses. So you could be a primary use, meaning you're the only use on the property, or you're an accessory use, meaning you're accessory to. So this is talking about like if you're beyond, and I don't think it's clear now that you're pointing it out that we're talking about LI parcels.
Tier 1 and Tier 2.
Tier 1 and 2. Well, Tier 1 would have to be accessory.
Tier 2, it would be ruled out by all the specifications from Tier 2. So this is just speaking to how you determine accessory or principal for both Tier 1 and Tier 2. It doesn't speak to the location. Just
Meaning, but
energy threshold.
technically we have said that the 80 to 600 is not its own separate use in those business districts. They're accessory to a district, right? To a
That's
business.
Just,
I'm
it's not gonna
sorry.
get you.
Wanna,
Sure.
um,
If I may chime in. So the intent here was we were trying to establish if it's an accessory use or a primary use, a principal use. So what we decided to do was we're lumping both Tier 1 and Tier 2 to make this definition. You are allowed to have, as an accessory, a battery energy storage that would be able to store the amount of energy that you use on your site in a typical day, the average daily load. There's a multiplier effect because that's usually measured in just kilowatts. We want to multiply it by 24 to get your kilowatt hour number out of that. So you would be allowed that, again, it would stipulate accessory versus principal. It does not allow for you to break through a threshold of 600. Does not speak to that.
Beyond 600.
Right. If you're in a commercial zone, you're not going over 600. You can determine accessory or principal using that formula, but it does not allow for that accessory use outside of the zones where it's permitted. Is that somewhat clear there?
it's a little confusing. I can understand why.
So, and then the second point, battery storage can be considered accessory when the primary use of the parcel is for the generation of electricity. So in this case, we're doing kind of a very similar math where whatever is generated on that parcel, you are going to be allowed to store that amount of energy, not in excess. So if you create 4,000 kilowatt hours with your solar array, you would be allowed to store the 4,000 kilowatt hours in, again, the average daily generation as an accessory.
And just that earlier question about the type 1 list, that type 1 is for 600 to 5 megawatt. If it was below 600, that area of 80 to 600 would be unlisted.
Quick question, don't you respond to that?
Yes.
So you're running the meeting now?
I like him running the meeting. Good job. So what you just mentioned about being an accessory, would that be then it still would have to be if we change it to business district, it would still have to be that. That wouldn't be an exception where it can be placed somewhere else outside the business district restriction we're talking about.
That's right. This does not change the underlying allowance in certain zones. This just is stipulating accessory versus principal, not an allowance of that you can exceed the thresholds, number one, or that you can put these in a zone where it's not allowed.
Okay, thank you. 'Cause Jim knows lawyers like loopholes, and that's what I'm trying to make sure they got those tied up. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Well, we should, I'd like to close the public hearing, leave it with a 2-week,
Right, we zoomed in.
Hmm?
Zoomed in.
Yeah, we have that.
Zoom,
Except
plus
have
we
other
have,
hands, so.
Somebody
but we
else.
want to make that one change. Yes,
Yeah, come on up. The new
cameras, wow.
I know, look at that.
Chris Benelli, Hampton Bays. 2.5 years ago, your predecessor said, talking about batteries, I thought they were benign. And then started a long, long process. And here we are, 2.5 years later, and we haven't decided what to do. Have you succeeded?
Isn't it nice that we're just on the cusp of passing this law that we've given so much consideration to?
You've been on the cusp for a year.
No,
You started, you had a moratorium a year and a half ago. You extended the moratorium, you extended again. Now the moratorium is being extended again. And people who live in that area want final conclusion. They want somebody to say, won't happen. The conclusion you've already made is you won't have best facilities in a residential area. Why can't you say that publicly?
we've said that publicly.
Well, why not publish it?
Because there's other considerations.
What are the other considerations, ma'am?
Well, if you've been paying attention, you would know all these
I've been
details.
paying a lot of attention, that's why I'm here. And the attention that I've been paying is that for every little bit of problem we have, the enemy of perfect should not be good enough. And we should get on with it and get to the point and saying, we have these 6 or 7 problems we have to resolve. Resolve them offline. Don't resolve them here. Have work programs that resolve them. Don't allow us all to come here and you do the same thing over and over again. You were 2 months ago, you said at a meeting of the Civic, and you said everything would be done by March. Here we are.
Supposed to be talking to us. We're trying.
I'm not saying you're trying.
I did not interrupt you. Please don't interrupt. We've been up here trying. The committee's been working very hard. Marie and Councilman McNamara have been working very hard on this. We don't want to pass something if there's one little problem where they can get back in. We want to make sure this is closed tight to protect you and your neighborhood and the next neighborhood and the next neighborhood. Okay? Yes, if it was up to me, we would have done it 6 months ago. Okay?
It isn't up to you.
It is. That's why we're all trying to push. Okay? So you can yell at us all you want and get us aggravated. Okay? We have to make sure we're doing it precise.
Don't do it here. Do it when you work.
We have to be doing everything in public. We have to do it in public.
These public sessions that you keep having go over the same thing time and time again. You talk about the same issues. You're parsing words. You're getting to the point where it's ridiculous. The enemy of perfect is not good, should not be good enough.
3 minutes up.
Thank you.
Please. You're saying 2 months?
Sorry, we don't mean to
I'm willing to
aggravate
bet
you.
you 2 months from now, you'll say, oh, we need another couple of weeks.
No, we're not going to say that.
Bet you. I got a buck that says 2 months from now, you will say, we need another 2 weeks. Here's the buck.
Keep it in your pocket.
It's on the table.
Okay. Peter, is there anyone on Zoom?
There is one person on Zoom.
Okay, let's hear it.
You left it on?
Yeah.
Hi, is this only public comment on the best?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'll sign back in. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so what I'm hearing is that we need to, we can close the public hearings, but we need to leave it open for written comment for 2 weeks or until we hear from the Suffolk County Planning Commission.
Yeah.
But I would like to make that one change that we discussed, and apparently we don't have to renotice the hearings to do that. And that would be to section 330-426B. Number 2. So to change the language from permissible in non-residential zoning districts only to permissible in business districts. Now, if you want to say other than,
I'm gonna have the attorney's office provide me with
Yeah.
the language.
Yeah, well-
I'm fine with business districts.
Hmm?
Just to make sure that it's exactly how you want.
Just because I want to be clear, are you saying other than RWB? Christine Scalera, Deputy Town Attorney. You want it in business districts excluding RWB? Is that how you want it?
That's something that you feel strongly about.
Or just have it, just
I'm fine
excluding
with business
districts?
districts.
Okay.
Thank you, Christine.
And the memo that I submitted would be the other changes, the minimum.
Yes, just to clarify that as well. Christine knows about that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I believe there was a housekeeping memo that was submitted regarding some of the other changes that are non-substantive, but provide further clarity and efficiency, so you'll understand it and it's more readable. But they won't change anything, just wordsmithing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to point out that the fire marshal was asked to come and take the dollar. She didn't come in to take the dollar.
Are we paying that for a woman?
And Mr. Crispinelli, you're welcome to take it back for her when you leave.
Please.
I think I'm aware.
I don't think so.
So we do one by one.
We have one-
So, all right, so we'll make that change and I move to take the resolutions out of order so that we can
Well, we have to close these
rule
first.
on them.
We have to close these.
Like we have to close each one individually.
Correct. Yes.
Did you need to speak?
I just wanted to ask about Cindy's comment about the planning commission, I'm sorry, the planning commission.
The planning, we always ask the planning commission for comments on any code change of this nature. They're meeting on the 4th. Jenna Shear is going to present this to them, and they'll give us their comments, and we can't close the record until we incorporate their comments.
My question is, do they potentially,
No.
is there a potential that they can come back and say, don't like it?
Just so it's clear, they can come back and say whatever they want, but this board, they can't usurp this board's authority. So this board, it would require an additional vote. So it would have to be a majority of 5 as opposed to 4, but it doesn't stop anything.
And it's likely that they'll say it's a matter of local control.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, so, let's see. I move to close the first public hearing and leave the record open for comments from the agency.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to close the second public hearing and leave the record open for 2 weeks for agency comments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Second, same vote. Probably do that.
Yeah.
You just have to vote on each
Sorry,
one.
you're saying agency comments?
Well,
Planning
public,
commission.
Agency, Suffolk County.
Suffolk
Planning
County.
commission, Suffolk
I
County
could
Planning
just
Commission.
put, no, just Suffolk County Planning Commission, I'll say that.
I'm sorry.
Move to close the third public hearing and leave the record open for comments from the Suffolk County Planning Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Move to close the fourth public hearing and leave the record open for comments from the Suffolk County Planning Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to close the fifth public hearing and leave the record open for comments from the Suffolk County Planning Commission.
Second.
Aye.
Aye. All in favor?
Aye.
I move to close the sixth public hearing and leave the record open for comments from the Suffolk County Planning Commission.
Second again.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I move to close the seventh public hearing and leave the record open for comments from the Suffolk County Planning Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And lastly, I move to close the eighth public hearing and leave the record open for comments from the Suffolk County Planning Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wait till the resolution. but then we can take it.
You don't have to take them out of order. We'll just tell people we're gonna table all those
We're going to
resolutions
table
for
all
2
the
weeks.
resolutions, so you don't have to stick around. Okay. Promise. Okay. All right, just take a quick break from the public hearings, and I know council members Iacili and Pell have something special to do right now.
Yeah. Do you want me to just speak here, or
The whole board.
From the whole board, but you're presenting.
Yes.
Yeah.
do you want me to go up to the, or just stay here?
Good. You want to call him up?
Sure. Sorry, Gils.
You get through?
You're the liaisons, that's why they're doing it, they're the liaison.
Haven't been on this side in a bit. Dieter, come on over here. We have a little something special planned for the one and only Dieter von Lichten. Dieter, why don't you stand right beside us? Dieter is recently going to be stepping as well. He has stepped aside as chair of the town's sustainability committee. And because of his just wonderful, extensive work with the committee and with the town, we wanted to honor him with a certificate of appreciation for being chair of the committee for 13 years. Long time. Just so, a little bit of ways of some background, Dieter's efforts have collaboratively led to a number of massive achievements for the town of Southampton. Most recently, we recognized the opening of the North Sea Solar Array, the first community solar project in the region. Thanks a lot to Dieter for his advocacy and his collaboration with the town on that. He helped to support the town board to buy energy efficient vehicles. He worked with the town as well to create a plan to restrict plastics and the use of plastic bags. His work on the committee also led to the restriction of gas leaf blowers to be replaced with battery operated, quieter blowers. And recently, Dieter's work helped aid our office to enact an outreach campaign led by CRC and the Sustainability Committee to really raise awareness of the law. So really, Dieter's work was integral to our ability to really move ahead on some of those things. I also want to mention that Dieter's work also helped usher in major policy achievements in line with advocacy groups and clean and renewable policymaking goals that can be seen in the sustainability element, the 400 plus plan, where Dieter worked with the board, worked with town planning, also the climate action plan in 2023, setting new green goals and initiatives for the future. Among much else, Dieter is also a member of his local CAC in North Sea, helping to contribute to a number of ideas on how to enhance the quality of life for the hamlet. His voice has been really important to the CAC and important to the town board to understand what some of the hamlet's needs are. So this certificate is absolutely warranted. Folks who have ideas, who collaborate with their elected officials by putting their best foot forward, who find ways to get things done despite the hurdles, despite the setbacks, but who keep pressing on and understand how the landscape of government is not always easy, but understand that when government has partners who act in good faith, who are constructive, and remain steadfast, that is the secret ingredient to success in government and building the community. And it's the secret ingredient for collaboration in government. And Dieter really represents those characteristics to a T. So we are so delighted as a town board to present you with this certificate of appreciation. Do you have any words that you'd like to say?
Well, very hard to comment on that. It is mostly embarrassing to get these kind of laudations. But I must say, it's not something which I did by myself. I had a great team, the Sustainability Committee, which I've been gladly sharing for 13 years. And it was time to make room for some young blood to run it from now on. It is only really with all the town boards I've been happy to work with that this was able to be done. And I think the most important thing is that the town board has accepted the Southampton 400 plus plan, which is now part of the government forever. And that is the real thing, that the government has said sustainability is one of our key things. We have to look through the green lens for everything we are doing. And thank you for that. So I accept this with pleasure, and I will continue to work on the committee, but not more as a chair. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean.
So if I could just add, Dieter, I had the privilege of serving as your liaison with Councilman Bouvier for 4 years. And I have to say that your wealth of knowledge, your calming demeanor, just putting stuff out there and letting us kind of run with it. You did a great job leading that committee, and I don't think it would have accomplished half of what it has without your leadership. So thank you.
Oh, very nice. Thank you. All right, so let's continue on with the public hearings. Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice for the 9th public hearing?
Public hearing number 9, to accept an agricultural easement in connection with the subdivision known as Kamakutiko LLC, Hamlet of Watermill.
I have to remember how to say it myself. Christine Scalera, Deputy Town Attorney. Good evening, Supervisor, members of the board. For your consideration, as recommended by the Planning Board, is the acceptance of an agricultural easement on an open space parcel totaling approximately 7.8 acres on approximate 22.232 acre site in connection with an 11-lot residential subdivision known as Kamakutiko LLC. This is a picture of it over here. I'm sorry I don't have a bigger map, but if you can make out the green, it's pretty large. The map is located in the CR80 zoning district and is known to have prime ag soils. It is located in the hamlet of North Sea and is further identified on the Suffolk County tax map number as 900-99-1-11.9. The final application consists of 11 residential lots and 12 lot designated as this agricultural reserve lot. If the board has any questions, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, if the board is so inclined, I would just close the public hearing and I'll put on a resolution of adoption on for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any cards for this public hearing, but Peter, is there anyone on Zoom?
No one on Zoom.
Does anyone on the board have any questions or comments? All right, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice for the 10th public hearing?
Public hearing number 10, to consider the acquisition of 11 Helens Lane in the hamlet of North Sea, New York, and amend the CPF management stewardship plan to include the property.
Good evening, Jackie Fenlon, Director of Community Preservation. Good evening, Madam Supervisor and Town Council members. Today we are here before you to consider the acquisition of 11 Helens Way in the hamlet of North Sea, so I'll just point to the parcel outlined in yellow. As you can see, this is surrounded and does have shore frontage in Fish Cove. So this is a property owned by Les Etoiles Realty Corp. I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly, but this is 0.3 acres located at 11 Helens Lane, Suffolk County tax map number 900-61-1-76. So the Les Etoiles Realty Corp has expressed an interest in selling the property to the town of Southampton in the amount of $765,000. And this property is located in the Community Preservation Project Plan as a wetlands target area. So this does contain shoreline along Fish Cove and will preserve valuable shoreline habitat and the natural ecological features of the property.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I do have a card. Amy Paradise would like to speak on this. Don't go too far, Jackie.
Ladies and gentlemen, the peasantry speaking. $750,000 for a third of an acre. Has anybody tried to negotiate with these people? I can see why you want it. It's right on the water. I'll bet you couldn't build on that lot anyway. And it's a realtor. I know, somebody's praised it, but you need to look at the numbers there. Buy it, but see if you can't, do a little negotiation there. That's a lot of money.
There's nothing cheap anymore.
You want to respond to that?
So I can tell you that the property is actually quite high, but it has received a wetland permit for a single-family residence.
A what?
A single-family residence can be built there. It's the minimum size, 800 square feet, but it can be a two-story residence, can be obtained on that property with a wetland permit.
They have the wetland permit, you say?
Yes, yeah. They've received it already from the Environment Division. Yep.
And we have a tough environmental division, so, as we all know.
Thank you, Jackie.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Peter, is there anyone on Zoom that wishes to speak at this public hearing?
No one on Zoom.
All right, thank you. Anybody have any other comments? I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice for the 11th public hearing?
Public hearing number 11 for funding water quality improvement project for the Village of Southampton, Moses Lane Park, IA project.
Good evening again. Jackie Fenlon, Director of Community Preservation. So this is a project that we are looking at for a water quality grant. So this is actually located on CPF purchased property where a passive park is going in. The town has negotiated an IMA with Southampton Village, and it was a requirement of the park development that they provide a comfort station. So this would be to offset the costs for the IA system in the amount of $45,000 for the purchase, construction, and associated utilities for the comfort station at this location. So, and I also, just if the public is curious, I did put up the park plan. This was actually reviewed in detail by my office over the last 2.5 years. So this was actually just approved, the concept plan, by the town board and the CPF department in February of this year. And I'll just point to the comfort station, and then the second page below is the details.
Should say it's not a passive park, it's an active park.
Oh, yeah. I guess it's active. It has a playground and bocce courts. Yeah. So there's some active features. Currently, it's passive with just trails and a parking area. Yeah. Yes, thank you. But this will allow the amenities to be available for people visiting the park. And this is all to be constructed by the Village of Westhampton, but they have come to us to request. Village of Southampton, and they have come to us just for the offset the costs of the IA system required for the comfort station.
For the comfort station,
yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't have any cards on this, but Peter, is there anyone on Zoom?
No one on Zoom.
Well, thank you, Jackie.
You're welcome. And if the board sees fit, this is on for also a resolution for funding, resolution number 2025-696, later in the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're up next.
Thank you. All right, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice for the 12th and final public hearing?
Public hearing number 12 to consider the adoption of the 2025 CPF pilot plan payments.
Good evening again. So this is the pilot program. So today we are having a public hearing on the plan, but the plan was actually adopted in November of 2024. So just to remind everyone, this is a program that helps the town make payments to school, fire protection, and ambulance districts from the Town of Southampton Community Preservation Fund. So this is to help mitigate the impacts of lost tax revenue from lands that are made wholly exempt as a result. But please understand that this does include federal, state, and any local government lands. It's not only CPF preserved lands since the inception of 1999. And this is allowed through state legislation 64E as well as the town code. So right now, the plan that we adopted in November is still the same plan that we were consistent with. So that's for school districts with a tax rate greater than $5 per 1,000. And then other districts, fire protection ambulance districts, that are at a rate equal to or greater than 50% of $1,000. So that was the threshold that we adopted in November. And based upon the school district budgets that we received, the resolution is on later in the agenda, which is resolution number 2025-728. So that actually determines all of the actual payouts. This is under the 10%. We have a cap for the CPF pilot payments, which was roughly $6.8 million this year. But we are distributing $6,535,582 for this year.
It's worth noting we're the only town that actually does this.
Yes, and again, this is voluntary. So this is voluntary that the town board chooses to do this. And we are the only town within the 5 towns that generate CPF revenue to offset this tax.
Director Fenlon, can you explain what the purpose? I know you kind of glossed over it a bit. What is the purpose of these payments specifically? Because it ties into when we take properties off the tax roll, right?
Correct. Yeah, so these are properties that have been preserved or wholly exempt because of the municipal status. So those properties, once they're taken off the tax rolls, those ambulance districts, those fire districts, or those school districts, as well as library districts that are included in the school district budget, they are not benefiting from those tax revenue anymore. So this is to help offset that. So this will basically make these school district wholes for all properties that are tax
Did
exempt.
Hampton Bays qualify this year?
Yes.
And what are they getting?
I can tell you right here. So Hampton Bays School District is receiving $1,299,789. And that, then the library for Hampton Bays is also receiving $67,292.
And is information about the other hamlets located on the website? If
So
anybody's interested?
this resolution has all of the payment amounts that are to be distributed by June 30th.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, so this is really to be a reimbursement to the taxpayers so that they are being made whole and their school districts are supported and fire districts are supported by this.
In Hampton Bays, the money they get in the 1 million plus,
Mhm.
is that equal to the money they lost in taxes?
Correct, yes. Yeah, so this has all been done by tax exempt properties that are exempt within that school district boundary.
But it's worth
Based upon their
noting,
budget.
it's the amount they were paying when they were removed from the tax rolls, it does not increase year to year. So if it, whatever they were paying, if they were taken off the tax rolls in 2020, it doesn't, that amount for that property doesn't increase. It is what it is, and that's what it's frozen at.
But it is important to note that the tax rate does change. So the tax rate per 1,000. So as I'm reviewing this each year, I'm seeing how the tax rate might vary. And usually it goes up incrementally, but there were actually some that went down if you compare year to year. But it is based upon the tax rate.
But also, these parcels now are preserved, so residences can't be built, so there wouldn't be any more students going to them.
They're not generating any school age students or people that would need emergency services, fire or ambulance. But still, obviously, we need our fire responders to respond to the middle of the woods if somebody gets hurt, or obviously so there's some response needed in this area. But it wouldn't be generating any population that would be entering the school district.
All right, well, thank you. I do
Thank
have
Good information.
one card on this one, Gail Lombardi.
And this is the final table that we received that coincides with the resolution.
I would give it to Cindy.
So just a couple of comments, wow, my voice echoes here. I'm appreciative of the town board actually being the one town that does the pilots. I mean, as you know, town of Southampton, the hamlet of Hampton Bays, we have a very high tax rate. And I had a couple of comments. Just moving forward, I do recognize all the work that Jackie did. I understand the calculation. I understand the plan was approved in November. The issue that arises, as Cindy pointed out, is one, there isn't a fair market value adjustment. These are things that may be considered for as long as the CPF is around. Just because a law is in place doesn't mean changes to better help the communities shouldn't be considered, fair market value. The issue I raised last year was the fact with the Riverhead School District, which properties are being considered in the Riverhead School District that gets a benefit, because the fair market value for Riverhead versus Flanders might, are not the same. And the third thing that was important also is this is just for open space purchases. So all of the town's purchases, and you've made many in Hampton Bays that are not eligible for pilots, such as the building on Montauk Highway where the trustees are, that's adding up now. So you've been buying more property with the town of Southampton money, which is not eligible for the open space pilots, and therefore they're off the rolls and we're not getting the benefits for those properties to our school district. So please be cognizant as you're purchasing property, they're not all eligible for the pilots, and therefore you're taking those off our tax rolls and taking school tax dollars and shifting that burden onto one-family homeowners. So thank you for all the work that you did, and I totally support it, and I'm really thankful that you guys are doing this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peter, is there anyone on Zoom for this public hearing?
No one on Zoom.
Does anybody have any other questions? Okay, then I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Jackie and Dan. All right, that brings us to the public portion. And I do have several cards. The first is Angela, you know.
Good evening, Supervisor and members of the board. My name is Angela Unault. I'm the president of Franca, Flanders Riverside Northampton Community Association. And I am standing before you to just make a few comments or questions, have a few questions about the Town Resolution 2025-731. We are not against the CAC forming in Flanders Riverside, Northampton, but we ask why. Why do we need it? We also ask why wasn't Franca informed or asked to be a member? From what we understand, members are appointed by the town board. We were told that it is a closed group and that only by invite might we attend. The community can find out what was discussed by going on the town website, is what we were told. At our last Franca meeting, which was held last Wednesday. This is all under the township of Southampton. Not a good way to start a group. The community was very much taken back when we were dictated to and spoke to in the manner that we were spoke to, and told that we are not to show up. That if we would be invited if they wanted us to be there. And from the research that I've done, calling prior presidents and speaking to members of the community, the reason for the CAC for it to have been dismantled was because it was redundant. Franca was doing what the CAC was doing. And so it's very much questioned as to how did this, why? The other thing I wanted to just take 2 seconds to say is thank you to the chief and thank you to you guys. We see the extra officers. Hopefully they stay for the summer, but definitely well appreciated. And we have even a further understanding. Our chief cannot put an officer at every single block waiting for something to happen. And, I understand, with that being said, I also understand that having neighborhood watch, like that was started in Northampton for Wildwood, that's great. That's wonderful because not more eyes on the street and seeing what's going on, we can get more things resolved. And Bayview Pines has their association. It just feels like we're more divided than coming together. And it would be awesome if, I know like the Neighborhood Watch has invited Franca twice to a
30
meeting.
seconds.
But it would be great to unite rather than continue to be segregated. And so thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Angela.
I believe the Hamlet liaison was a request to him by the community for, by some of the members to reactivate the CAC. But
So I'd like to just start by saying thank you to Angela. She's run the Franca group for quite a while now. And, the amount of effort that's gone into the Flanders Riverside Northampton area, between the lake, between the speeding, between code enforcement, and all the other things that we've been working on, those all come from you guys. We attend the meetings. Bill and I attend the meetings. I know Michael's been there. Cindy's been there. We spend a lot of time in your area, and we do a lot there. That said, it's not unusual to have a civic organization like yours and a CAC. I mean, we have that in Hampton Bays, and it ebbs and flows on who's in it. The list of the CAC members that I saw are people who are already in contact with us on a regular basis. So I don't think it's going to change what's going on as much. I think you'll still be a force. I mean, there's so many other things that you do, your trunk or treat, your work with the church. I mean, the big duck sign. I mean, when the Flanders sign was stolen. I mean, there's so many other things. So you have a full plate. Let's see how this works out, and we'll take it from there.
Are the CACs closed to the public though?
No,
I didn't
they're
think they
meeting,
were.
they're meeting the second Monday of the month at the Flanders Firehouse, and it's open to the public.
So we may have a conflict with the timing of that too, right? Don't we have?
I think you have Watermill.
Yeah.
And we can talk to them about changing it.
So we'll have to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry I missed the first meeting because I had a promise Watermill CAC I'd be there for theirs.
And I mean, I'm happy to have a conversation with you offline about it. I'm not going to get into he said, she said at a public meeting, but happy to have a conversation with you as to the why and who and.
But just know that you can certainly attend any meeting, and it's really up to the board who's on the CAC. So we could always add.
Yeah, you can always add if you want.
Okay, the next speaker is Jerry LaMonica.
Last month, about a month ago, I filed a Freedom of Information request from the town. I'm sure you know that, right? I wanted to see the bills.
Could you please, for the record, state your name?
Jerry LaMonica. I live at 27 Dogwood Lane in Noyak.
Thank you.
Okay. I filed a Freedom of Information request to look at the bills for the Shinnecock Nation lawsuit. Now, I understand that the vote was split when you guys voted to do this, but you all own this, right? My question is, have any of you looked at these bills that we're receiving from the attorneys that you hired to do this case? No? Yes?
Yeah.
You have?
Yep.
Do you see how much they're charging? I only had a few days to meet with two different attorneys. And the hourly rate that they're charging the town of Southampton is 3 to 4 times the national average of what attorneys charge, okay? They have attorneys charging us $1,575 an hour who work 12-hour days, and there's multiple attorneys doing this on the same day. The last 2 months, March, the bills were $426,000. April, $447,000. That's $1 million just in the last 2 months of legal bills. My question is, what was your understanding of what this was going to cost when the lawsuit started? Is there a retainer agreement that you signed with these people, with this Morgan & Lewis law firm? What did it say? I don't like to file another Freedom of Information request, but I would like to get a copy of the retainer agreement. I'm sure you can get it for me. And how long is this going to go on? I mean, this can go on for 10 years. Our town budget's $134 million. You're spending $500,000 a month on this. Is this really what we're about? This is like fighting with another nation. It's like a giant tariff is what it is. And also, you have to really scrutinize these bills. They're charging you, lawyers are allowed to charge for travel expense if they're involved in a case, right? But they're charging, after a guy works a 12-hour day at $1,575, he says he needs an Uber ride home at night, and they charge us $22 for that, and it's on the bills. They're charging us for their lunches, hotels, meals. There's actually a bill here for $2.72 for a snack for one of the attorneys. I mean, this is crazy. So, I mean, can anyone say something? What gives on this?
Mr. LaMonica, so I just want to, for the record, you're here speaking. I just want to, for the record, we don't really know. I don't know you. You don't know me. We may know.
I do know you.
You don't know. You do. But did I talk to you about this at all? Did I ask you to come here?
No.
Just want to make sure that's on the record.
No.
I just wanted to make sure that was on the record.
There's no political considerations here.
Thank you. I want you to know that when that bill came by this dais, I did vote no on that.
I know you did.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Okay. But you know what? The five of you still own this because usually in something like this, it should really be a unanimous decision. But I guess it wasn't, so I'm not sure. I know, Supervisor, you voted for it, and Mr. Pell voted for it. I'm not sure who the other person that voted for it was. Was it you, sir? No? It was you? Okay, so 3 people that voted for it. I just said, you have to really look at these, scrutinize these bills.
Where do you live, sir? Noyak?
Noyak, yeah. 27 Dogwood Lane. You know, years ago, I was involved in a similar thing in the town of Hempstead, where there was they used to have, like we have here, at-large council districts. They had a lawsuit to break the town into council districts, right? And I was involved. I actually looked at the legal bills for that. The case took 10 years in federal court. This could take 10 years too. There's going to be adjournments. There's going to be postponements. There's going to be. And another question: have any of you been deposed yet in court? Because I'm sure you all will be, because you all filed a lawsuit. You're the people that represent the town, so you'll all be deposed in court. So that's going to take a lot of time. That's going to cost a lot of money too. Has this happened yet or no?
I'm not going to speak about the litigation, so you make your comments, and we don't. It's not a question. It's not
No, I'm not asking anything.
Yeah,
Everything about everything.
Talk, but I can't.
Everything about the case. I mean, you know this. These are the bills I got. Everything in black is all redactions. In other words, so they don't tell me actually what's. These documents don't show me what's going on. They only show me how much money we're spending. That's all. That's the only comment I have to make. And I think you guys are doing an excellent job with the traffic stuff, right? I'm going to make one comment about traffic, and you're going to like this, right? When you see a traffic sign that says 30 miles an hour, right? Traffic signs are very reflective, right? But they're only reflective at night when your headlights hit them. There's so many traffic signs in the town that are filthy, that need to be cleaned. A lot of them are all green. You know how this time of year we get all our decks get green, all that stuff that comes down from the trees all over our cars. It's all over the road signs too. And it's just a thing I like to mention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll look in about cleaning the signs.
Highway?
Yeah.
I feel different if you lived in Hampton Bays.
Okay, I'm not even. Gail Lombardi?
Thank you, Gail.
So I didn't come here to speak about the Flanders CAC, but I did notice it on the town board agenda. And I can tell you that, and I've brought this up a dozen times. If I wish I had $1 for every time I brought it up. There are too many different groups, and I feel like the town, the former administration, used that against Hampton Bays, and they played one against the other. So, I agree. I don't know Angela. I've met her a couple of times. I knew her predecessor very well. To the extent the town board could bring communities together, it really should be what you're working towards. And we had suggested at the CAC, when I was on the CAC in 2016, that the heads of all the different groups be on the CAC. So you had your civic leader, you had your beautification leader, you had all these different people, and they could go back to their groups. And it would force a unification of the community. And it was something that we really proposed, and there was pushback from board members, and there was pushback from certain groups that wanted their own clout. And it just does a disservice for Hampton Bays. Civic is trying, once again, trying to, unify. Hopefully we'll even, meet up with the Alliance. We're trying to get a library with the Southampton Animal Shelter. We're trying to do a better job. I am, and I could tell you certain other board members, because it's more important to unify, especially as an unincorporated village. But you guys do what you feel is appropriate. I am here to talk about Town Board Resolution 2025-741, which is what you had the public hearing about last month, about changing Code Section 186. It's late in the night, 189. So it was to allegedly clarify that code section to eliminate type 2 secret actions. And I had said, type 2 secret actions are not ministerial, they're not just administrative there, and specifically a lot of them refer to solar PVs, and you have, ironically, a solar PV resolution on this board. So I'm hoping that you consider tabling that resolution. The secret type 2, really, there's 100 of them. They're not administrative. There's a lot of non-administrative actions on there. I sent you the email earlier today. I'm not even sure why you're bringing the thought process of a secret into when you have a public hearing. Those are kind of two mutually exclusive things. I'm not sure why the planning would be suggesting it. It's a little concerning to me. Leave it as it is. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping you will.
It's going to be tabled for a couple of weeks.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Pell. I appreciate that. All right. You guys have a good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Beverly Perkowski.
Good evening. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. My name is Beverly Perkowski. First off, I want to thank you for giving my husband and I the best Memorial Day we've had in years. With your help with the park, yesterday not only was the most gorgeous day, there was no screaming, no hollering. I'm sure the police department was waiting for a phone call. No phone calls. People are enjoying the lake. They live around the lake. They were fishing. They were paddleboarding. It was gorgeous. And I thank you for those signs, for putting up with our aggravation. But I just want to thank you. It was an absolute gorgeous day, and the lake looks beautiful right now, and hopefully it'll stay this way. But I want to back Angela on Franca. When Franca was organized or became an organization, we had 6 things that we pledged to do. 1 was uniting our 3 hamlet communities. 2 was improving services and quality of life, supporting local residents, businesses, and families, promoting cultural, civic, and social engagement, encouraging participation in community efforts, and securing economic and civic improvements. And Franca has done a phenomenal job. Angela has been great. I don't know if I'm for or against CAC, but I just don't want to see it where we've got 2 organizations fighting for no reason. I mean, if we can't come together, nothing is going to work. But thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Beverly. All right, Gail Baldwin.
My name is Gail Baldwin. I live at 525 Riverly Avenue in Riverside. I've been living in the community for 25 years. I've been involved with Mobile Manufactured Homeowners Association. I worked closely, our group worked closely with Assemblyman Thiel, so I'm familiar with working with the public. You know, we had a membership. We're not meeting at the present time because we had 2 goals when we started, and that was to stabilize the rent so that park owners couldn't arbitrarily raise our rents whatever percentage they wanted, because most of the parks are senior parks, and if our income doesn't keep in line with the raises, people have lost their homes, they've moved. It's just been a hard situation, and with the help of, the great help of Assemblyman Thiel, we won that stabilization bill in 2019. So that was our first goal. Our second goal was that if the owner decided to sell the park, he could not sell the park without offering the right of first refusal, which would offer it to the residents of the park to be able to have first chance to buy the park. Those were our goals, and we won those 2 bills. They're on the law now. That's the law in the state of New York. So after that, a lot of the people, and we're all elderly, they felt the goals were met. So I've turned some of my efforts to Franca. I've been involved with Franca for a number of years. And I wasn't able to attend last week's meeting because my granddaughter was getting an award at school. But I, like the other lady said, a house divided against itself can't stand. So if there's two organizations and we're doing the same thing, but we don't communicate with one another, we're told we would get our information off the website. There's so many elderly people in my area. They don't go on the internet. They rely on word of mouth. They rely on you letting them know what's going on. They're not going to be informed. And I just feel like I was very, very disturbed about hearing that it was going to be by invitation only. And I know that every meeting we ever had was open to the public. Even when it was a community thing, we didn't charge members that were not members to come in because we were imparting community information. So I got very concerned about that. And now you say that it would be June 9th that's the second Monday at the Flanders Firehouse. Is that going to be out to the public so that, where is it going to be advertised that they're going to know that this is?
Town website. Every CAC has a page on the town website.
But if they don't have access to the website, and many of them don't in my community, there's 300 plus houses there. How will people know to come out? There's not good communication in that area for letting people know.
That's how every CAC is.
So in other words, we would have to spread it by word of mouth to tell them to come out. Do you know what time this meeting is?
7 o'clock.
Now, I did hear it was by invitation only. When I walk in, am I going to feel?
It's a public meeting.
Okay, and they're aware of that, but yet that's not the statement that was given. So that's why I'm questioning that.
Who said that to
So
you?
we're not going to speak about
No, I'm
individuals that
not
are
going
not
to,
here.
it doesn't make a difference. It happened at the Franca meeting.
It was at
So-
a Franca meeting.
Yes. But you know what? I just want to know how, in other words, if I want to find out what they've communicated to you, are they going to bring back my voice?
They are required to keep minutes, and those minutes are posted on the town website after every meeting. Unless I attend a Franca meeting, how do I find out what was discussed at the Franca meeting?
Okay.
This is how communities have a discussion, and like I said, I don't feel like this is the appropriate venue to disparage people that are really trying to help their community.
No.
And I will say that they are very well intentioned, and I will say from speaking from somebody who lives in a hamlet who has a CAC and a civic, I felt like the civic was not getting my concerns across. I didn't feel like I was being represented. I took over the CAC and became chair of the CAC. We brought in a whole host of people that didn't feel like the civic was basically representing their views. My hamlet has now come full circle, and the CAC and the civic are working together again. And, maybe the CAC goes away, maybe it doesn't, but I don't think having more voices in your community hurts you.
No, I agree with you there. I just want to make sure that, as our group is working, that we're working towards the same goals.
And I think Franca is very, very involved. You're very community minded. You're doing community engagements and beautification efforts, whereas the CAC is looking just for quality of life issues and day-to-day problems in communities. There's representation from every area in Riverside, Flanders, Northampton, and it was literally just to address quality of life concerns and not so much. Franca has its roots, it has its basis. They do a lot of great things for the community, and nobody's taking away from that. Okay. I think these people just felt like they wanted to be more focused on quality of life issues in the hamlets.
Okay, so if I go to that meeting, then I'm be free to present quality of life issues for people in my community.
Absolutely.
And someone from that group would represent that back to this board.
Absolutely. It would be in the minutes.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I just wondered if the people that want to form the CAC tried to, participated in the civic and then felt dissatisfied. Do we know that? Or
I don't want to speak poorly about one group or another in a public forum. I'm willing to sit down with Angela and the CAC chair and maybe the three of us can have a conversation and,
Yeah,
But
because they do so well represent all three of the hamlets.
I just feel like we can't tell one hamlet that they're not entitled to a CAC when all the other hamlets do.
Yeah, true. They've asked for it, and
You have to come up. You can't speak from the audience. Sorry.
You have to go to that one.
I don't think it's so much that is the way it was presented to us. I mean, it was nasty. And we're told you cannot attend unless you are invited. We're like,
It's a town committee, it's
well,
a
I
public
think
meeting.
that's where this whole problem is coming from, the way it was presented.
And that will
was,
be
like,
corrected.
very nasty, and it got 10 people very riled.
That will be corrected.
I guess I would just like to say that first and foremost, CACs are meant to be public. So whoever stated that to you obviously was misinformed. But my hesitation, I guess, is with the fact that, all CACs are, effectuated through town ordinance, right? The town creates a law, creates the CAC. From my understanding, there was a Flanders CAC, and it operated for some time, and then it dissolved. I have no problem with bringing it back, but I do also understand that Franca has done a lot of work in the community, and maybe the effort here should be to bring some of those particular community members who are dissatisfied with Franca to meet and have a discussion, to better maybe create some sort of subcommittee with Franca. Here's my position on CACs, and I'll just make it clear. I think they're great, but I also think that, you think you have more power than you have, because CACs are town-driven, right? They're created by the board, and they're meant to be merely advisory. They're just to say, hey, we were having this issue. We wanted to let you know, right? Which is great. But civics, and I'm sure Gail can attest to that, are much more effective with grassroots power to actually implement change. That's not to say that CACs aren't worth something. I'm not taking that away from CACs, but I think that we do have to think about how effective they are in capturing the public's interests. And I do worry too about too many groups being created, because all of these groups have different interests sometimes, and don't always really align with what the majority feel. And I think that, if we're looking to try to really tap into where these hamlets are in terms of their sentiments, their feelings, their judgments, we should be trying to streamline those organizations. And I think Franca in the name represents that. Flanders, Riverside, Northampton.
But this shouldn't be a power thing. This is supposed to be where you reach the community, not have power. I mean, that's not what that's about. So I think that's the problem we're having. It's going to be a power struggle, and it shouldn't be about power. It should be about serving your community and trying to do the best. Thank you.
thank you, Beverly. All right, next speaker is Enzo Morabito.
Before Enzo, can I just make one more comment about Franca? Bill and I are liaisons to Flanders, so whether it's CAC or the Franca, we're coming to the meetings. The exchange of information is going to be free. If something comes up, we're going to share with the other to make sure it's, back and forth. We don't want to duplicate. Sometimes it's a no when we hear an issue. We let you know it's a no. It's going to be the same with that. And like I said, most of those people that I saw on the list are people who already communicate with us. So you guys can work together. I think it'll be fine. Yeah. You just got to keep both sides, keep their membership up and keep it going. And I think you'll work together. It's one cause.
Thank you, Rick.
Enzo Morabito from Douglas Elliman Real Estate. And I'm here to discuss an unpleasant event, and hopefully you guys can help me out somehow. I've been working with the town over the years to bring some properties that the town can buy. We've done about 3-4 different deals. So it's taken a long time. We're used to that. It doesn't happen overnight. We were instrumental in bringing the Casa Basso restaurant to the attention of the town if they wanted to buy it.
As a Realtor.
We went into it, and it took about a year and a half, and then because of the elections and the new board members coming in, we hit kind of like a slag there right in between. So we took it up after the new board members were installed, and we were moving forward. We did 2 appraisals. We gathered historic documents. We talked to the town historian. We sent in articles. And we were just moving forward, and really, really not a lot of discourse going on between us and the Community Preservation Fund. Obviously, the owners were they needed to sell it. So we were working on it, and it looked like we were moving forward. We got notice from the Community Preservation that the new board was favorable for it, and so we were excited about it. Then we kind of went into a lull. Around March of 2024. Absolutely no response. We call, you don't get too much attention. You email, you don't get too much attention. So finally, out of desperation, I sent an email to the Community Preservation. I said, hey, listen to me. Talk to me. If you don't want it, it's okay. I just don't want these people to linger any longer. So quiet ensued. And then the week before Memorial Day, last year, 2024, we finally got one of the members from the Community Preservation to get on a call with us. And there was 3 of us from the group. And at that particular point, this was May, the week right before Memorial Day. And we were told that the town absolutely was not interested in buying the property. We have affidavits for the people who were there with me. At that time, I put together a meeting with the people who owned the restaurant, and I went and told them, I said, listen, the town's not interested. It's over. So we have to look at something else. Lo and behold, this was the end of May. Our exclusive runs out June 6th of 2024. So one day I'm sitting home and I'm reading the paper, and the paper says the town's buying the Casa Basso, okay? We didn't know anything about it. Prior to that, I received a phone call from a lady I didn't even know. Her name was Patricia Blake. Didn't know who she was. And she said that she could help out, that she's politically connected, and that she can help me with pushing this thing through. At that particular point, I don't know who she was, and I said, we really don't need anyone. We're fine, I've done this before. So, lo and behold, the transaction is happening. I believe it's closing very shortly. But for the time, I said, how could this happen? How could you bring a project in and then all of a sudden they have somebody else steps in? Which is, and it's quite a considerable amount of money. Incompetence, I understand. You know, sometimes stupidity, I understand. But when I look at this whole thing, the way it was handled, and to get us off the track, and then July 2nd, the 6th of June, the contract ends. July 2nd, after I struggled to get the files that were not provided by me, there's a contract, and the contract is signed on July 2nd, about 20 days later. So here we are, and I'm asking the Preservation Fund. I said to them, could you please give me the files? In the beginning was, what are you looking for? I go, none of your business. This is what it is. And so they finally give me my own emails.
And I'm so sorry, but I've let you go a couple more minutes over, and I know the town board, if they choose to continue, they should, but
Oh,
I
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you call the 3 minutes.
I did
Sorry.
not, because
I'm sorry.
it's
Okay.
I'm going over, talking too much?
Yeah, you have technically you have 3 minutes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, very, very briefly, I'd really would appreciate it if you guys can get these guys here to give me the records, the files. I know the beginning, that was us. In the middle it ends, and then there's a contract. And the property is being sold and handed off to, quote unquote, someone who has political influence. The appearance stinks. So how do I get the files?
You filed a FOIL request.
I did, but all they do is they keep picking what they're giving me. They gave me the beginning, me, they gave me the contract, and then they gave me what happened after that. It's like reading a book and taking out the middle section.
So are you asking for our private discussions about land acquisition?
No, I'm asking all the emails that I have, that I put in there, they're in there. There had to be some conversation. That contract didn't just get signed. It took 1.5 years for us to get there, and you're telling me in 20 days, someone else comes in and puts together a contract. Come on. Come on. I don't get it. And the only way I'm going to be able to do anything is to get you to get them to give me what I'm looking for.
Weren't you going to come in and inspect the files? Maybe that's the way to do it, come in and look. And
I've been very specific, believe me. Okay? So it looks to me that at the end of the day, the only way I'm going to get anything is to start a lawsuit against the town. And that is the last thing I want to do, and I have better things to do with my life. They're just not giving me the files. You know, when you walk in and you're looking at the files, and the first question that the assistant town attorney asked, "Are you recording me?" And I go, "No." I go, why are you asking that? I just want the files. They are not giving them to me.
Okay. Well, we'll look into it. We'll talk to Jim Burke about it. Okay. Our town attorney.
I appreciate it, or we do it with attorneys, one way or the other. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Enzo.
All right. Peter, is there anyone on Zoom for public portion?
There's one person.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thank you. It's Andrew Roof, Watermill. I just wanted to call and thank you guys for continuing to work to do this traffic study and hopefully advance and come up with some creative solutions to solve the problems that you guys are well aware of. I won't use up any more of your time. I know it's gone late in the evening, but I just wanted to thank Councilman Iacilli and thank all of you for your efforts again to try and make things better on our roads. And I hope we can get the state money and take a look and make some improvements. Thank you for your efforts.
Well, thank you for saying that, Andrew. Appreciate that.
I appreciate you guys. I know it's been a long night.
Good night.
We also have one more person on Zoom.
Peter, just an FYI, we weren't able to see Andrew, so if you bring somebody else on, I don't know if...
They did not have their video on.
Okay, so they're just not being captured?
Yeah, I didn't... the camera wasn't turned on for them.
Hello?
Jackie and Dan, I didn't think it was appropriate for you to respond to. And so at that point, that's the only.
Hello?
Yeah, no, you're 100% right.
hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hi. My name is Catherine Littlefield, and I would like to join with Andrew to thank you all for the work, especially the work that Charlie McCardle has been doing, and Mr. Iaselli for improving the traffic here and requesting state funds. Thank you very much. I would also like to ask a question, and I'm not sure you can answer me. I attended an event the other night hosted by the mayor of Southampton and his running group. And there was a lot of conversation about what the mayor was doing to the town of Southampton. And I begged the question, we were part of a group that opposed the treatment plants on Bowers last year. And we have heard nothing about where it was going. But the mayor told us that the area that was considered by the railroad is now going to become a park. And the area that was considered by the utility areas is not in question. But he wouldn't give me any information on where the sewage treatment plant is being considered, and because it's a private matter between the town and himself. Do you have any information on any of the proposed sites?
Well, at this point, the board doesn't have any additional information about, sites for the village's sewer treatment plant. There may have been other communications that we're not yet aware.
Okay.
There has been, obviously, this is a village determination, which is a separate municipality, but my understanding is that they've been actively exploring different sites, but nothing has been actually specified just yet.
Yes, but those sites are in the town. So he led us to believe that he was working with the town for the sites.
Well, the last site that was an issue was over by the hospital, part of the hospital, but that didn't, and we were very willing to support that, but that did not pan out for the village.
The person at the hospital who does all the planning and the managing of the plant that would be related to this said that they were still working on other improvements, that perhaps it could be considered. But I've heard mention of land off County Road 39 that perhaps might be near the cemetery. Is that still in play?
No. That hasn't been, brought to the board. So it may very well be something that's going to be presented to us, but we haven't officially heard anything about that yet.
Ask the village.
Okay. So the process is that the village comes to the town and said, hey, this is the site we'd like to have developed for the sewage treatment, and then you review it? Is that the process?
Yes, but we would also want the village to have a public hearing so that we know that the village is willing to move forward before we spend any time on it.
Yeah, this is a village determination.
Yes, I understand that, but they were very flip-floppy, and it was kind of like a political evening to support the candidacy of the mayor, and that's all I could get in the Q&A period. But I thank you very much for all the work that you do and how much you helped us get it out of Bowers, where it would have been really not what we would have liked to see. Thank you very much, and good night.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
One more person on Zoom.
Guess nobody has their video on.
We should.
I thought that was a requirement.
I thought we were. Did we get past that?
We did. We have to work with Sunday and get the wording put in the.
Should be a video, right? Did we do
These new cameras are very bright.
Right, you got to pick up
in a time.
Why?
They're like 12K.
What's with the microphone?
I don't know.
Oh, that one broke.
Oh, it did.
It was echoing. So
Peter, we don't see anybody or hear anything.
Yeah, I'm inviting them to be a panelist.
Let's move on if they're not ready.
Hello. Here they are.
Hello.
Fox.
Yes, can you see me now?
Yep.
Okay, I've lost you, but I guess you could see me. That's great. I'm Bill Fox, also in Watermill. I'd also like to repeat thank you for the work that you've all been doing on the traffic challenges that we're having. I observed the last meeting when you mentioned about the traffic study with the county, I understand you deferred the formal request. I don't know what's the status of that is. I was wondering what the timing is. And once you do make the request for the study, do you have a reasonable idea of a timeline of how long that would take? And if there are any traffic mitigation steps that you'll be taking in the interim while we're waiting for the study? Thank you.
So Mr. Fox, I think you mean to say the state, because it's actually.
State, I'm sorry, the
That's
state.
okay. Yeah, because there's a lot of studies happening. There's also a county study on County Road 39. But the reason why it was deferred was just because I think there was still pending consideration of the matter from 2019 that I just believe wasn't revisited, which is why we revisited after we became aware of it during our traffic mitigation and safety task force meetings. It's also informed the highway superintendent on some of the value of eliminating that light on Montauk Highway, where they tested a blinking yellow light program there for one season. The timeline is a little bit more difficult to answer. This particular bill that we are considering today would essentially say to the state that the board supports moving ahead on continuing a study. And then from that study, they would have to then meet with the community and the town to illustrate their findings. And then from there would be some sort of plan that would be proposed, assuming everything would work out according to plan. But a lot of this does take time. I would say probably year, 2 years out on just the first phase, which is really just taking a look at that and coming back to the community at some point with a plan.
You're talking about the watermill
Watermill,
traffic
that's what
circles?
he's talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, really, we're at the mercy of the state to see how
Right.
long it'll take them to come back to us, but we'll certainly follow up with them. We have the resolution.
We have
on
the
for
resolution
tonight.
here. That's what tonight is for, so we could tell the state we'd like them to move ahead on studying
Yeah.
it.
So I appreciate that these things take time and it's a big task. But I'm wondering what mitigation steps, even temporary ones, that you can take in the interim that you're contemplating while we wait, as you say, it could take a year, 2 years.
Absolutely. We will definitely circle back and try to find out what we could do and have a conversation with the watermill community and the highway superintendent, and we'll get back to you on all of that.
Okay. Well, again, thank you all for all the work that you do. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you happen to know when we'll be hearing about the results of the pilot program on 39?
I don't know.
Guess we'd have to have Charlie come in for a work session.
Yeah, Councilman Pell, have you heard anything about that or not yet?
No.
I think he did intend to come to a work session to discuss.
Okay.
Yep.
I think it's coming in a couple weeks.
All right, I'll check Janice on that.
I'll ask him tomorrow.
All right, I think that's it for public portion then. So I move to close public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Can we take a resolution out of order?
Sure, which one? What are we doing?
Page 106, 2025, 749. Since I see her kids probably want to go to bed.
I move to take Town Board Resolution 2025-749 out of order.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Sorry.
Town Board Resolution 2025-749 to appoint Tatiana Tucci to Assistant Town Management Services Administrator position from the Civil Service list.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations, Tatiana.
Can I actually just say one thing? I think I've said this before. I'll say it again. The taxpayers of Southampton should be very pleased that you are in the position that you are in. So thank you.
You watch all the pennies.
We all appreciate how diligent you are about reviewing the contracts. So thank you.
I have one to talk to her about.
Offline.
Tomorrow.
Thank you.
You should all be proud of your mom. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Good night.
All right, back to the beginning. Let's go. Bill, you're up.
Town Board Resolution 2025-693, amend Resolution 2025-213 to include on-call emergency for the Justice Court.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 6094, amend Town Board Resolution number 2025-214 to include on-call emergency Justice Court for for the Justice Court.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-695, co-sponsored by the entire board, to authorize a change order for NV5 for the Hampton Bays Multi-Use Path and Bicycle Lanes Project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-696, co-sponsored by Council Members McNamara and Pell, to authorize funding for water quality improvement project for the Village of Southampton Moses Lane Park IA project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I be added to that, please? Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Town Board Resolution 2025-697, to authorize payment to Santander Bank N.A. for the first financing payment pertaining to a Gap Vax vacuum truck.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-698, co-sponsored by Councilmember Pell, to authorize the purchase of asphalt and bituminous material using the Suffolk County contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-699, to authorize purchases of maintenance, repair, and operation supplies, equipment, and related projects and services from Wesco Distribution, Inc., using the Omnia Partners contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-700, to authorize purchases of maintenance, repair, operating supplies, industrial, and related services using the Omnia Partners contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I'm not, just, sorry, I'm
Problem?
No, I'm just commenting on the charts. They look different. They're not your normal, they usually look a little bit different. These look very nice. Very textbook.
Well done by
Sorry.
our contracts person. Okay.
Town Board Resolution 2025-701, authorize push of new Trailer King trailer parts and service from Suffolk County Brake Service using the Town of East Hampton contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 702 of 2025, authorized purchases of special pavement markings from Rosemar Contracting, Inc., using Suffolk County contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-703, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, to authorize a request for reimbursement for Boy Scouts of America 2024-2025 Explorer Program registration fees.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Sure.
Town Board Resolution 2025-704, authorize the supervisor to execute a service agreement with Source Pass Contemporary LLC.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-705, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, to authorize the supervisor to sign a service agreement with Clarity Cloud USA, Inc. for permitting, licensing, and code enforcement systems.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I want to thank the working group with Councilwoman McNamara, Janice Shear, our IT department, our comptroller, and public safety. Everybody gathered together to come
Demo
up,
this,
yeah,
another
to
one.
demo it and just make a determination. And we met with land management and the building department team, and they're all ready to take on this challenge of new software. And I think it's going to really help streamline the permitting process. So we're excited to get started.
Thank you.
Town Board Resolution 2025-706, to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Nelson and Pope for professional services related to the engineering design of a solar photovoltaic system at the central garage in Hampton Bays.
Second.
All in favor? Town Board Resolution 2025-707, co-sponsored by Councilman Pell, to authorize the implementation and funding of a state Marcaselli Program Aid Eligible Transportation Federal Aid Project to fully fund the local share of federal and state aid eligible and ineligible project costs and appropriating funds therefore for the Hampton Bays Shared Use Trail Project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I was a little warm in here, but it's fine. I know that, we adjusted the temperature, but it's fine, it's fine. We're almost done.
Can I go?
Yes, go ahead.
Town Board Resolution 2025-708, authorized purchase of recycle and repurpose equipment from Mobach LLC using Sourcewell contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Town Board Resolution 2025-709, authorized purchase of rental equipment from United Rental Inc. using Sourcewell contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 710 of 2025, authorizes the supervisor to execute a park and recreation agreement with R is for Rugby LLC for surf camp instruction.
Second.
All in favor? Town Board Resolution 2025-711 to authorize the supervisor to sign a reciprocal fuel purchasing intermunicipal agreement with Suffolk County.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-712 to award and authorize the supervisor. Oh, yeah, I can feel it already.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To sign a contract with Elite Action Fire Extinguishing Equipment and Service, Inc. for inspection and repair of fuel pump fire suppression system.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-713 to award and authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Fowler's Garden Center, Inc. and Riverhead Building Supply Corp. For fencing and stakes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-714, award and authorize supervisor to sign contract with Potomac Environment LLC for private and multiple market for disposal service of multiple solid waste.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 715 of 2025, co-sponsored with Supervisor Moore and Councilman Pell. Award and authorize supervisor to sign contract with Vendrite Vending Corp. for 8 AMS outside vending machines.
Second, and I also want to say, these vending machines are going to all the transfer stations, and eventually you're going to be able to buy your green bags at the dumps.
Disposal location.
At
Just
the transfer
at the
station.
transfer stations with a credit card.
And the money that we're saving from having to pay the businesses to sell them, we'll pay these off in about 9 months.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
And make it more easier for the town people.
And encourage more sustainability practices as well.
Absolutely.
Actually, we had to talk about that today.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-716 to declare items surplus and authorize disposal of vehicles and equipment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-717, co-sponsored with the whole board, except, you want to put it on here? You're not here for some reason. Recall and amend Resolution number 2025-637, authorize supervisor to execute a consulting agreement with Lisa Cornbert, Inc. to provide professional service to the Community Preservation Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I forgot to say about the vending machines, to thank Tom Houghton for.
Yes, Tom.
Yeah, Tom's done a good job.
We
That's a good idea.
talked about the transfer station today for an hour. Myself and Mike and Tom and Mark and who else was there?
Talking about transfer stations?
Lynn, to say how to improve it and what we want the transfer station to look like in the next few years.
Awesome.
And we'll be brought to a work session in the near future.
Town Board Resolution 718 of 2025, recall and amend Town Board Resolution number 2025-573, award and authorize supervisor to sign contract with Questmark Information Management, Inc. for printing and mailing of Hampton Bays Water District bills rebid.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 2025-718, 2025 notice to bidders for Mill Creek Boat Ramp.
Second.
Hampton Bays.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hampton Bays?
Yes.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
You're asking Bill if he knows where a boat ramp is?
Well, because there is another one.
I'm pretty sure Bill knows where the boat ramps are.
What?
You're
Really?
wrong.
I'm wrong.
Wow.
We did Corwin's, the other thing.
This is for in Noyak.
Yes.
See?
Wow.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
I admit when I'm wrong.
Thank you, Bill.
Town Board Resolution 2025-720, 2025 notice to bidders for purchase installed of one foam densifier.
Second.
All in favor?
Town Board Resolution 2025-721. 2025 notice to bidders for purchase 1 or 2 used dry van trailers.
Second.
And actually, these trailers are going to be used for the recycled mattresses. We're trying to get the stuff off the road and into the right hands to recycle stuff.
Good.
We're also doing pallets too, but that's a secret.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-722 to amend the 2025 adopted budget for Highway Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-723, co-sponsored by Councilmember Pell, to amend the 2025 adopted budget for highway special events.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 2025-724, amend the 2025 adopted budget for the Highway Department, including CHIPS, Paving New York, EWR, and POP funding.
Second, and Madam Clerk, if I may co-sponsor this, this is critically important. This helps to add additional financial assistance to some of the highway projects, infrastructure improvement projects. So thank you, Bill, for helping out with this, and to the Highway Department for working to identify these funding streams.
We all got to work together.
We have to vote.
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Favor. Thank you.
Town Board Resolution 2025-725 to amend the 2025 adopted budget for special events.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-726 to amend the 2025 budget for various departments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 2025-727, co-sponsored with Councilman Martell. This is to amend the scope of work for Tiana Life Saving Station CPF Capital Project. This is just to make sure that we're inclusive of additional programming and artifacts. I really have to thank Rick in your capacity on the board and before this board to help usher in this project along with CPF, all of your work. And we're obviously here to make sure that it is a successful CPF project and we keep history alive. So.
And this is for special, particular historic artifacts, right, to be included. Yeah, it's nice. Thank you. Thank you,
Second.
Jackie. All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-728, co-sponsored by the entire board to authorize the adoption of the 2025 CPF pilot plan and payment of 2025 pilot.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-729 to authorize the closure of capital projects.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-730 to accept the resignation of Michael Charrier from the Architectural Review Board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And thank you, Michael, for his service on that board for so many years.
Charrier, yes.
20 years, I think he's
A
been.
lot of years.
Maybe more than 20.
It's been a very long time. Town Board Resolution 731 of 2025, co-sponsored with Councilman Martell, reestablish and appoint members to the Flanders Riverside Northampton Citizen Advisory Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So I'll just say this, my issues that I expressed earlier, I maintain, but I'm going to defer to the liaisons of this community and the work that you did to try to work on this. And I trust that your leadership on this issue will help to develop a good, foster a good relationship. So I'm going to defer and vote yes for this. Okay?
It's like Bill and Rick.
Yes.
Bill
Thank
and
you.
Rick, yeah.
Bill and Rick?
Thank you, yeah.
Yep.
So, well, your resolution thing. Thank you.
Town Board Resolution 732 of 2025, co-sponsored with Supervisor Moore, resolution adopting Town Code Amendment repealing Section 330-162.21 entitled Battery Energy Storage Systems in excess of 600 kilowatts. I want to table this.
Second to table.
All in favor?
Aye.
So the next meeting? June 10th.
Town Board Resolution 733 of 2025, co-sponsored with Supervisor Moore. Resolution adopting an amendment to Town Code Section 330-33, Businesses District Table of Uses, again to table to June 10th.
Same second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 734 of 2025, co-sponsored with Supervisor Moore. Resolution adopting amendments to Town Code Section 330-37 entitled Industrial Districts Table of Use Regulations as it relates to battery energy storage systems, again tabled to June 10th.
Same second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-735, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara. I'm going to table that to June 10th, sorry. Oh, what?
Do we have to read the title?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Because I won't read the title if we don't have to. Town Board Resolution
Oh.
736 of 2025, co-sponsored with Supervisor Moore, again to table to June 10th.
Same second.
I didn't even realize I didn't read it.
Need an all in favor.
Town Board Resolution
All
20.
in favor.
Didn't vote.
All in favor?
All in favor?
But there was no vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-737, tabled.
Second to table.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 738 of 2025, co-sponsored with Supervisor Moore, again to table to June 10th.
Second to table.
All right, Town Board Resolution,
You gotta
all in
vote.
favor? I didn't
Aye.
say that.
Yeah.
Town Board Resolution 2025-739, co-sponsored with Councilwoman McNamara, tabled to June 10th.
Second to table.
All in favor?
Town Board Resolution 740 of 2025, co-sponsored with Supervisor Moore, again to table to June 10th.
Oh, second.
All in favor?
Aye. And that's all the
The second
battery.
was Bill?
Bill.
Yes.
Oh, that's not, yeah, that's
I'd
right.
like to table this one, 2025-741,
Second?
till June 10th.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025 742, co-sponsored with Councilman Martell. This is the 2025-2026 home sales price and rental formula multipliers for units reserved for income eligible households. These are the adjustments that deal with AMI that Federal Housing, Urban and Development provide for the local municipalities.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 743 of 2025, co-sponsored with the entire board. Donation of a memorial rock by the East Quogue Civic Association to be placed at the Village Green, East Quogue, in honor of Anne and Al Algiers.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-744, co-sponsored with council members Pell and Martell. A memorializing resolution in support of New York State DOT proposed roadway improvements in Watermill, intersections of Little Cobb Road, Montauk Highway, State Route 27, Watermill, and Scuttle Hole Road and Montauk Highway, State Route 27, Watermill.
Second.
I thought I had asked to be put on here, but would you please add my name, Cindy?
Yes. You can add me as well.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, oh, I just think so.
I did. I did.
Oh, good, full support. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody, for your support on that.
Town Board Resolution 745 of 2025, authorize waiver of building department fees for the East Quogue Fire District.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-746, the 2025 part-time salaries.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-747, to accept the retirement of Eileen Quinn, accountant in the Comptroller's Office.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna miss her.
Yeah, she's very good.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
Well, congratulations on your retirement, Eileen.
Congratulations.
Town Board Resolution 2025-748, to terminate an employee in the Housing and Community Services Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-749. Oh, we did that one.
Yep.
Town Board Resolution 2025-750, to appoint Christopher Sedano to Maintenance Mechanic 2 in Municipal Works.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-751 to appoint Inessa Bittner to Accountant in the Comptroller's Office.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-752 to appoint Nadine Edwards to Office Assistant in Human Resources.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-753 to appoint Claire Vega to Office Assistant in the Justice Court.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-754, co-sponsored with Councilman Pell. This is a notice of public hearing to consider amending Chapters 312-11B to authorize additional stop signs on Noyak Road at the intersections of Long Beach Road and Stony Hill.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-755, co-sponsored by the entire board, to authorize the acquisition of 670 Middle Line Highway in the hamlet of Bridgehampton, New York, and to amend the CPF management and stewardship plan to include the property.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-756, co-sponsored by Councilmember Iacilli, to recall and amend Resolution 2023-92 for Attilio Soma and Mary Beth Soma, Suffolk County tax map number as indicated, Situate at Hampton Bays, is accepted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. This has to do with road review.
Road review. Town Board Resolution 2025-757, also road review. Recall and amend Resolution 2025-85 road review application for James Conforti.
Second.
Wait a minute, Suffolk County tax map number as indicated, situated in North Sea, is accepted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. It's road review.
It is road review, yeah.
How come the other one didn't say road review?
It did.
Not the one where you said, oh, it's road review.
Yeah, it's
in the body.
yeah, it's in the body.
Town Board Resolution 2025.
Our town engineer does a lot of work on road review. Just an
Yes, he
FYI.
does,
Yep.
among other things. -758, road review application for 10 Lakewood LLC. Suffolk County tax map number
East
is
Quogue.
indicated, situated East Quogue, is accepted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
A lot of chit chat down here. Town Board Resolution 2025-759, road review application for LA Luxury Construction, Inc., Suffolk
Second.
County tax map number as indicated, situated in North Sea, is accepted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-760, another road review application for the Village of West Hampton Beach, Suffolk County tax map number as indicated, situated in West Hampton, is accepted.
These sometimes I
Second.
second.
All in favor?
Over here.
Do you have a comment?
My comment is that I understand that some of these do take time, so I'm sure these people will be very happy that they're moving along.
Oh, sure.
That's it.
Oh, we do have some walk-ons. Don't leave yet, anyone.
Like the longest title ever. Town Board Resolution ID 50007. Notice of public hearing to consider a local law to rezone certain parcels from highway business to village business and hamlet commercial located on the north and south sides of Montauk Highway between Ponquag Avenue and the intersection south of Old Riverhead Road and the hamlet of Hampton Bays, as per the Hampton Bays Corridor Strategic Plan and associated generic environmental impact statement.
Second.
Second from Bill Pell. And I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor.
So would I.
Well, this is to schedule a public hearing, right?
Yes.
That's what we're doing.
We don't add sponsors to public hearings.
What? Excuse me?
We don't add sponsors to public hearings, we add them to resolutions when you're adopting the outcome.
Okay.
Thank you, Cindy.
He's jumping the gun.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Town Board Resolution ID number 50018, which is the warrant number 10, capital number 10, CPF number 10, dated May 27th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution ID number 50025 to appoint Tevin Smith to sanitation helper in waste management.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution ID number 50038, which is a resolution rendering determination of a grievance.
Second.
Oh, co-sponsored by the entire board. All in favor?
Aye.
And Town Board Resolution ID number 50044 to accept the resignation of a police officer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, well, if there's no other business, I move to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
This chair.